I know everyone's like, final season of Riverdale. It's finally time that we can say goodbye to this town. And we were like, y'all could have made it 13 episodes and we would have been good. But they have a 20 episode account. And I kind of feel like they need the 20 episodes after seeing this premiere. One word for me, fantastic. Fantastic premiere.
Retweet.
All of the above. I like. I think the best way to start is we were not the biggest fans of season 6, and when a show feels like it's reached this kind of like stale point that you'd be okay letting it go, no matter how much you love it. Season 7 is the refresh that Riverdale needed. It's new, it's young, it's vibrant, and it's fun. And I think that's the most important thing we can take away from it. So much fun.
Riverdale kind of, it was still fun sometimes, but a lot of season 6 felt like work. But there's definitely more fun back in Riverdale, and it's just so reinvigorating. The energy this season has already, like, it feels like they've been, even if this wasn't the plan from day one, it feels like such a natural and perfect place to land for a final season. Like, each season's kind of had like this thematic identity and aesthetic, and going back to the 50s is such a great homage, not even to just the comics that it's based on, but the first season, when it always had this Roberto, for as much as we do drag this man because we want to keep him accountable, he has had such a singular vision aesthetically for the series, and it feels full circle. Like, this is where the show needed to end, even if it got a little complicated to getting here. Being able to suspend your disbelief that, like, yeah, these children can try and travel back to the 50s for no reason. Like, I don't know, I don't care, it fits, it works. And like Michael said, they all seem like they're having the time of their lives. So, like, get out of their comments and being like, Riverdale's still on, they want to get out of this. It's like, no, they're having so much fun, and it's apparent in this episode.
It is a lot, and I like how different tonally it is from the series opener. Like, the series opener was fun, but it was broody and it gave a moody vibe, and it had this like when you heard the Riverdale theme for the first time, you knew you were watching a thriller of some kind that was ridiculous, but also like you just couldn't turn away. And I feel like when season 7 opens and you hear Rock Around the Clock, like, it just sets the mood and the vibe so well, especially when you turn to Jughead. He's just like, I really am in the 50s. Like, and it's just, and there's a sweetness to it. There's a youthful brightness that also balances this storyline, which I'm going to try very carefully not to spoil, but this storyline that is timeless, that despite the fact that we're in the 50s, a lot of the issues the kids are dealing with are issues this generation of kids are dealing with. You have like the discovery of who you are as a person and coming of age, and then you have the horror of dealing with the actual reality of, the adults running society, and like wanting change and feeling like you need to push for change and not being heard. And I feel like that's just something all teenagers know. Like, obviously you at some point you become an adult, and so for some people they forget that aspect of growing up, but Roberto hasn't. So I love the attention that is brought to, like, hey, we're trying to figure ourselves out, but also there's this Emmett Till situation, and we're trying to figure out how to best discuss it in an environment in which we keep being told, don't worry about it, be a kid. But like, obviously you have to worry about it, and they are kids, but they're kids dealing with the reality of the horrors of America.
And I feel like the premiere kind of balances that really well, because sometimes with Riverdale there's so much going on that the more important stories get fallen by the wayside, or sometimes the end result isn't what it should have been. Whereas I feel like with season 7 there feels like a far more balance. They're telling those important stories, but also letting you see why the characters want to tell them, who it's important to, and you get even though there's definitely a reset in place, you get to learn a lot about who each person is very, very quickly. Some dynamics feel familiar, but some dynamics feel completely different. So I will keep saying the word reset, but it feels like that this has been just completely, we have a clean slate right now. The reset button has been pressed, but at the same time, you can see who people are. A lot the more everything changes, the more it stays the same. And I feel like that's definitely something going into Riverdale season 7 to pay attention to. But I cannot put into words just how excited I am for them to be able to balance like important stories, but also start new character arcs, but also tie up older character arcs. There's a lot going on here. And yeah, again, I'll join that bandwagon and say I'm glad they have 20 episodes to do it, because it needs time to breathe. I feel like one of Riverdale's issues, like I mentioned, is when some of the stories get fallen by the wayside, is that it has too much to do and not enough time to do it, which is incredible considering it's had 22 episode seasons. But this one, for example, I feel like because it has a longer season, even though it's a final season, suddenly the stories are starting to breathe. And I think that's really important in this show, because this is the last time you get to spend this amount of time with these characters, and they're really making the most of it.
And look, we've said what we've said about Riverdale, and in that moment, it was truth.
Yeah, very much
Yes.
so.
We're allowed to be inconsistent with Riverdale. You have to grant us that, because at the end of the day, it's like when you're fighting with your sibling, and like you're allowed to say mean things to your sibling, but as soon as somebody else does, you're like, no, that's, I can only say that. Like, this is our Riverdale. We can say what we want. We've been in the trenches. Like, we're allowed. But it does feel like such a reward for, going through all of the ups and downs of the series. Like, it's not even if your favorite show of all time, you're gonna hit a point where you're like, oh my goodness, this is dragging on. It's not as good. But to get to a final season that feels so exciting and brand new, like we're 7 seasons in, and it's still able to surprise us and to make us feel excitement, and that's amazing. But I want to quickly pull out my soapbox, dust it off, and hop up there and speak directly to the shippers. Chill out. Calm down. It'll be okay. It's episode 1. We have 19 more.
Very true. And I feel like we said this before, like our introduction has shippers in it. We all know what we like, what ships we like, and whatever, and that's fine. But I feel like the best way to enjoy Riverdale season 7 is to turn off your mind and stop expecting things from it right out of the gate. Because at the end of the day, we're here with these characters one more time. A lot of people did not think we would get to this point. And it's pretty funny that the moment I stopped wanting things from Riverdale is the moment it starts delivering, because this feels like the highest standard.
I mean, there's something to be said about when you let go of expectation. I think beautiful things can happen. I mean, we prefer what we prefer, but like when you just decide, like, I'm no longer going to beg for what I want, because there's a part of me that does kind of feel like that is unfair to, like, you do have to, like, if a show's kind of gone off track, hold people accountable and be like, where did we go wrong here? We need to reset the course. But constantly demanding things that you want from a show, it doesn't feel genuine to the storytelling. I'm willing to just be like, Roberto, go where you may, and I will tell you how I feel about it at the end.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just, after watching this episode, it was just, again, so reinvigorating to see some of these dynamics get mixed up, and like actors. We talked about this in the trailer reaction, that we're seeing actors get to play together that didn't have storylines together in the past couple seasons. Like, they get to have these moments again, and to me, as a longtime fan, that's more exciting than seeing some couple be together at the beginning of the final season. Like, I'm willing to go the lengths and see where the story, it's not going to be easy. We're here for a while. Like, we're in it. So just kind of like releasing my own, where I see the story going. We can never predict what Riverdale's going to do. So
we can't. And it's also that, like, remembering where these, at this point, their kids were at the end of the season 6 finale. Like, I'm sorry, y'all, but they weren't, it didn't necessarily seem like they were together. So like the only ship that, like, I feel like anyone should really be going into the premiere wondering about is, of course, Tabitha, because Jughead, we know, has his memories, and you want to know, like, what's up with Tabitha, like, where is she in this universe. But that's about it. Like, I feel like when Roberto said he was going to reset everything, he truly meant he was going to reset everything. In some ways, these are the characters that we know, and in other ways, they're very much not. Like, so where we end up with the dynamics, it's gonna be an adventure and a ride on its own. I feel like save the ship arguments for whenever we do end up back in their present, which is, spoiler alert, going to be a long time. Like we are here in the 50s for quite a bit. I'm not exactly sure where they are in filming, but if they haven't gotten over like the halfway mark yet, or they have, we're still in the 50s. So just have fun with that. I feel like I understand that the compulsion to want to know that your ship is going to be endgame, but I think one of the corrosive things about the proliferation of fandom past like the communities you would have online, the way that everyone, it's great that everyone can talk about their ships and speculate and whatnot. One of the issues is it has now become such a thing for your ship to be endgame that people feel like if it's not, you wasted your time on a show. And it's like, but unless the show is a romantic drama, you have not wasted your time. It's a drama with romance in it. If you watch just for a ship, then that is on you. It's not on the writer.
Yeah, you're gonna hurt your own feelings.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I have not watched something for a ship. Definitely have, definitely will again. But like I am aware that because I'm doing that there's a part like you have to have reality about, which is like if the ship ends, then jump the ship, like leave the show if that's what you were there for. If it doesn't seem like they're gonna come back, or find what you did love about it and just stick around. Let the writers write, unless they're being awful, then hold them accountable. Or if they're like baiting you beyond belief when they know that you want something and they keep teasing it and they're not giving it to you, that's one thing. But like if it's just part of the story, buckle up, y'all. We're gonna be here for 20 episodes.
A lot can happen in that time.
A lot can happen, as we know, considering Riverdale.
And that's the thing with this show. Like at the end of the day, this is one of those shows where not everyone's going to be happy since there's so many different dynamics, but let them get to the end of the season before you cast your judgments. We're in such a good place right now, and I think we're in for one heck of an adventure. And I just hope that people sit back, enjoy the ride, and appreciate the show for what it is, because it's doing something incredibly exciting. So just have a blast with it, because I know the show will.
Though I will say, because I know, Michael, you and I have torn The Flash to pieces in its final run, that a different critique from like saying let Riverdale do its thing versus The Flash doing its thing is upsetting its final season, only because of where it's a filler season, I guess. And Riverdale seems like we're telling a sprawling story, and it's going to be an interesting one, a confusing one at points, but an interesting one.
At least it seems focused right now. Like they have goals. They have a theme. They have things they're wanting to accomplish. From what I hear about the Flash, they're just kind of like, yeah, let's do what we want to do.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking that when I was praising Riverdale after one episode, because I do sound quite hypocritical. But let me say this: I've watched the 3 Riverdale first episodes of the season, and everything stays on course. We're still on track for a good season. If we were sent the first 3 episodes of The Flash, I'm not sure season premiere review would have been as positive. But either way, Riverdale's final season is currently in a better state than The Flash's, and it's a sentence that I didn't even think I'd say when these shows were in their prime. So we'll see how it goes. But my point is, we still don't know what to expect from Riverdale's final season, other than what I can confirm is high quality for all 3 episodes. So just have fun with it, because this show will thrive on giving us something to enjoy, and that's what it does best. Just bonkers, and have a good time while you're watching it.
And I will be around in 10 years when everyone's like, Riverdale is kind of like super smart and great and campy and underrated, and be like, yeah, where were you when it was on?
Yeah.
you were in everybody's mentions complaining about it still being on. That's where you were.
I cannot wait for your think piece, Reed, when that happens.
It'll just be that Oprah gif where she's like, told you.
We'll be doing the 10th anniversary of the CW Spirals, complaining about how people never appreciated Riverdale the first time around.
Giving it a 10th anniversary retrospective.
Yes.
Fabulous.